Well, hey, welcome to the show before the show, where I check to make sure everything's working. I'm Patrick Marlette, your host today, on this very special live stream set review of Dungeons & Dragons' very own Adventures into the Forgotten Realms. That's right, we're venturing into D&D, and it could be fun, who knows? The whole set just released. This is excluding Commander precons, and I forget how many there are. But we'll get to those when we get to those. And we certainly won't be talking about those today. But majority of the conversation is going to take place around the core set. And obviously we'll go through this in Wooburg order to include multi-colorless lands at the tail end there. But I do want to start with dungeons first, and we can very briefly talk about that. Excuse me. I'll probably repeat this same statement when we get into the video, but if you're new to the channel and this is your first stream, first few minutes before the show, I like to just relax with the audience and catch up with you guys. So as everyone's tuning in, we can have a nice relaxed moment. If you were here yesterday for the previous live stream on Oswald Fiddlebender, I encourage you check that out. So good. That deck is extremely fun. Spoiler alert, yes, I'm thinking about not only showcasing it on Brew Wars, but having a finalized list ready for the channel. So it'll get a proper deck tech in the future. Can't say necessarily when, because I already know what the rest of this month looks like so far as content is concerned. But potentially next month, there will be a full deck tech once I've sort of solidified all the play lines. But let me just state that Rings of Brighthearth, your best friend when you play Oswald. So if you didn't tune into that live stream, I highly encourage you to check that out. Obviously, stay tuned for this one, though. I don't imagine this one's going to be very long, sadly. It's going to be similar to our previous live stream, but there aren't that many, previous live stream on Modern Horizons 2. Sadly, there aren't that many great cards to discuss from this set, at least for Commander. At any rate. Any ward goodies? Yeah, actually. The one class card. We'll look at it when we get to it, but the one class card's good. I wouldn't say there's much for Ward, but we can take a look at it. And I want to get into the specifics of the set review once we officially start this video, just so that I don't have to repeat myself when everyone gets here. And from here on out, I'm just gonna ignore commentary asking specifics that are detailed from the outset. Folks can just rewind. I think that's okay. How much did you love a Narcomancer in Modern? Yeah, it was good. It was really good. I don't have right now. There's Warts behind me. As a matter of fact, I'm pulling cards from her for a different list, so I'm not working on her, playing her right now. I have 4 lists up there. No Gruul, but I might break her back out. But she just keeps getting better cards. There are some cards from the set for her though. Let's see here. I think there are like 13 new cards per deck. So 52 in total, but I'm not really sure. In the Commander decks. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what is going to be in there that's going to be groundbreaking. I guess in an ideal situation, there's going to be some extremely breakable Venture Commander. There are a handful of Venture Legendaries from the set. Not to spoil anything, but that's a new mechanic. And, you know, with infinite mana, you can do anything. But if you have infinite mana and someone who ventures, you can do anything within those dungeons. Scry, draw, damage, you know. Any one of the numerous outlets you have in those dungeons. They're quirky and weird, and I'm not sure I care to play for them. But they're there, and they exist now, and what do you do? The set sucks. Love you, though. This set is okay. I don't know. I was looking over the cards earlier, and there's really not much so far as a competitive player is concerned, and that's usually the perspective we take on this channel. So if you're wondering if there's anything like high-powered or competitive for you to add to your list, not really. Really grasping at straws on a handful of these cards. Obviously, I would love to hear what you all think and what you would like to see during the set review. Rather discuss as we go over the color pie. Because there are some things I'm sure synergies I'm going to miss, because I like to specifically talk about universally good cards, not necessarily ones that are part of a niche strategy. Okay. Oh, this is my first time live. Well, Anna, thank you for joining. This should be fun. I have a lot of fun with these live streams, particularly the cold brews. This is only our second set review live, and I have to say I thoroughly enjoyed this more than I did any pre-recorded set review, because I inevitably will miss one or two cards that are significant to someone's deck or some strategy. So it's nice hearing from the audience, having them chime in so that we can have that discussion. I feel like this is a better way to go about set reviews, so this is likely the way I'm going to continue from here on out. I prefer the conversation. It's okay talking at you, but I do prefer to have a full, fledged conversation on these sets. I feel like it's more, it's more impactful in the audience too, like folks watching this afterwards. You're going to get a full breadth of this set, and hopefully with a bunch of different perspectives. I am melting in my studio right now. It's 90 something degrees out, and my AC is like this frigid air. It just doesn't want to run right now. I will figure this out. God, please. There we go. We'll do that. Okay, hopefully that sustains. Dockside reprint in the red-black deck would be groundbreaking on theme. Well, there's so much treasure, so many cards that care about the significance of you casting them with treasures. So yeah, I agree. You're just speculating though, Himana, right? You're just speculating on Dockside. That would be fantastic, but I mean, I feel like WotC would do it because they know it would help sell that product on top of it. So it's a win-win for everyone. And plus the prices of Docksides will hopefully go down at least $5 to $10 at most at their, the downwards peak. What is the opposite of a peak? And during their recession, and they'll go back up. But hopefully that would be great. They learned their lesson with Eldraine, I think. The set seems reasonable but not broken. Yeah, it's definitely reasonable. That's a good word for this set. Reasonable. This set is way better than what the people are thinking about. Oh, cool. Well, Julio, you're going to have a lot of opinions, I hope, then on the color pie. You can direct us to some cards you think are good. By God, I will win with that Hideous Laughter card. Yeah, I hope you do. Really? Spoiler alert. There aren't that many blue cards to talk about. But that is one of them. So I'm excited to talk about that one, because boy, we could have... It's funny, usually blue's the card that comes out on top so far as value cards are concerned. But blue got nothing. It really got nothing this set. The Lich, maybe? You can consider the Lich. Oh my God. Come on, fan. Come on. Stop kidding me. Stop playing with me right now. When you turn it on cool, it's supposed to just cool you. It's never been so hot in the studio. Ideal time to shoot, as I'm learning. Okay. I'm excited with all the new toys for Teshar. Yeah, for Teshar. Life for Teshar is great. That's for sure. All I want to do is complain about white getting no card advantage. There's a couple of when this card enters, draw card effects in there. That's card advantage, right? Wow. I really do think that my AC just shat the bed. I really think so. Such an expensive AC. It's crazy. We've been having to run these things nonstop. All right. Last conversation about the AC. If it stops working, I'm going to have to walk over there and hit it, because usually that's how technology works. You just smack it a bit and it works. Okay. Yeah, just wishful thinking. Nothing confirmed. Ugh. Poor blue players. Never getting new toys. All right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't feel bad. I'm not sour about that. I'm okay with the fact that blue is not getting new toys. Totally okay with that today. I mean, it's rare. Again, it's very rare for blue to be lacking in the toy department, but this is like the first time in a long time where they haven't gotten at least like 5 good things from the set, so not upset. And neither should blue players be, because again, like, they got so much stuff to play with. They're going to be fine. Kind of sad about some of the secondary commanders in the decks. The band guy doesn't even have trample. Why? Oh, we're not speaking specifically on the commander products, but we can, if you know the name of the guy, let me know, and we can look that up. Because I have Scryfall popped up on the side in case we want to talk about or explore, venture, as they say, into any combo lines for some of these cards. And there's a few here that like I've established combos for. I own the combos. But we're going to talk about those, and if we don't know the cards, we want to, you know, further look at the cards, I'll pull them up so we can take a gander at them. But let's see. There's a 2-mana dog that ramps when you're behind. Yeah. As soon as you say when you're behind, you know it's a white card. Rune Serpent, good morning. Yeah. It's pretty good so far. It's crazy. This is the last stream before I go on vacation. FYI. To all the fans of the show that tune in regularly. Sorry, next week's a no-go. But I have a point to make here. Well, there's that. This is also taking the place of the Sunday episode because I was going to hold off on... Like, I don't like doing 2 live streams back-to-back like this. Maybe that's lucrative or positive for other channels, but I don't necessarily want to do that. But this was supposed to be Sunday's episode, but I'm going to be gone. So if you're expecting an episode Sunday, this is the Sunday episode. Rewatch it Sunday. Looking forward to the review. Me too, Trav. I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be brief. We'll soon find out. No toys. No, there's some toys. Depends on your color. It's good they're trying to make the other colors catch up, kind of. White Doggo and White Dwarvish Visionary are a relief. Dwarvish Visionary. Oh, is that the... There's a white card that tutors. That's not the Visionary, though. I don't think that's what you're referring to. Was only leaked in Japanese, so he's only on Reddit. Okay. Thank you, Paul. I saw some of the Japanese leaks. I think the Discord had... Someone plugged them in our Discord. I just didn't have a chance to look over all of them. I saw the dragon, but... The Gruul Dragon... Such high hopes. Such a letdown. Green gets everything. Now they have a 7/7 flyer. I guess I'm okay with 7/7 flyers, so long as they're not, like, winning on the spot. I'm going to be okay with that. As a white mage, I might have been Stockholmed into thinking white cards are cooler than they are. For Commander, at least. Well, as a white mage myself, I have to say, Oswald Philbender, again, I'm going to plug that guy. He's damn good. He's a good legendary. He's going to be very good in the 99. He's very good by himself. I'm establishing play lines for him. It's funny, is that you need mana to do things, but it's not an issue when you're able to pull literally anything from your deck. It's easily one of the best mono white commanders, if not the best. I don't want to jump the gun, because I haven't played against people with it, but I will be playing against people with it soon. Folks love just like talking this shit up. I mean, I guess it's very clickable when you see the title, Best New White Commander, and you're like, oh shit, does that get anyone anymore? I don't know, but I see clickbaity titles all the time. Someone's gonna say that. I don't know if it's the best, but it's pretty fucking good. And instead of giving Heliod a run for his money, I mean, I kind of think it's better than Heliod already. And Tasha, obviously, it's a unique combo commander, but the lack of draw is really, really harmful. To where I can turn a Darksteel Citadel into an Esper Sentinel, like, that's pretty damn good. Like, on the fly. And then obviously convert anything into anything when the deck is, you know, a majority artifact. It's more than, I think it's 60% artifact right now. Again, check out that deck. It's very good. Alright. White cards are fine, just not alone usually. They're okay. I like you come to a river for my Jessica is shy deck just for the utility to return. Okay. Do you have any thoughts on that? We can get to it when we get to it. How about that, Orion? How about that? I tried building SRAM again recently, but kind of disappointed unless I do Cheerios. Man, I don't know. It's like draw in white. It's funny because draw in the command zone and other colors is like super valuable. Even just having Sithis in the command zone, having draw is super valuable because we can pull into green cards. But when you're in mono white, you're like, what am I pulling into in mono white that's going to be game ending? Like one card game ending. Nothing really. Like I can point at every other color and there's going to be a card that's one card game ending. But in mono white, it's like, what the fuck am I doing? It's like, I don't have an Underworld Breach or Ad Nauseam or I don't know, hell, Tooth and Nail for green. I don't have any like effect that's really going to help me get ahead. Right? Because all this shit we're relies on us being behind. So trust me, that dog probably not talking about it today. Unless someone brings it up. Then we can talk about the dog. But I'm not impressed by the doggo. Just saw the preview for plate armor, and I'm happy white finally gets a good equipment. Been a while. I have to look at that. We'll take a look at it again. Deadly Dispute is good. Maybe better than Village Rites. I like Deadly Dispute. We'll be talking about that. Unbanned Balance? Totally. It's an unfun card, though. And fun is a universal term. When I say a card is fun, it means that you should believe that card is fun as well. If I say a card's unfun, you should feel that card is unfun. I feel like that was the stance when balance was banned. How do I play in your play group? I'm in the area. Well, Gerard, you can join the Discord, and we'll have pop-up games every now and then on the Discord. Otherwise, I don't know. Whenever we get together, I guess. Pull into that approach of the second sun, right? Yeah, I mean, you can, Antonio. I'm not playing for that, but you can. I have Mortar Pod in there and Walking Ballista, if we're speaking of Oswald. But yeah, it works. It more than works. It's not difficult. Really, when you have infinite mana and you can pull your deck, you just need to pick a win con that makes the most sense. And I was thinking to myself, like, maybe Oswald can use one of those venture cards to use a dungeon as an outlet, because they are accessible. I just haven't settled on how I want to handle that. But that's likely the route I might go, or you can go. I don't really like the idea of using dungeons, but... Are we talking about the new Spider Queen? We can. We can, for sure. Alright, I think it's probably time to start this video up. Am I wrong? Do you guys want to talk about D&D? On this Magic the Gathering channel? I mean, they're really not that far apart, although I will not lie. A lot of those halflings had me I was like, oh my god, there's Kitkins in this set. And no, they're halflings, which makes more sense, knowing the theme of the set. But it's like, okay, we have halflings and Kithkin now, which is weird. And then once we get Lord of the Rings, we're going to have hobbits as well. I'm assuming they're going to make that a subtype. So I guess did they call them halflings in the lore? I don't think so. They just call them hobbits, right? At any rate, let's start this thing. Welcome back to the 99, where we're focused on brewing a better competitive commander. I'm your host, Patrick Marlette, and this is the Adventures into the Forgotten Realms set review live. That's right. All of the future set reviews on the channel, can't say that with absolute certainty, but most all of the future set reviews for the channel will be done live. So if you enjoy a good old conversation talking about the newest sets releasing before that beautiful fire dies out, and with how quickly spoiler seasons are approaching on us, well, there's only such a small window for us to really enjoy, really savor a new set as it's released. So if you enjoy doing that, well, come on down to the 99, where we have this discussion live. You can get my thoughts, I can get your thoughts, and of course we can have some wholesome conversation on our favorite TCG, because I gotta tell you, I love this game, and more really is more. I don't mind all the new borders, I don't mind all the new cards, I don't mind that spoiler season is around every bend. It's quite enjoyable. It's just difficult to catch up with, which is why I'm doing this with you, so I can peer into your minds, get your opinions on all these latest releases as well. So I'm super excited for the set review. The set hasn't had very many game-changing cards for Commander, and not every set will. This isn't a Commander-specific set, but there are a handful of things to discuss. Now, it's important to note that before we jump into this video, all of my opinions, you're getting the opinion of a cEDH game player. That is to say, the superior opinion of a competitive Elder Dragon Highlander player. So I'm not going to talk about every card. I'm not going to talk about every legendary. We're just going to talk about the good ones, the universally good ones. So if there are some niche cards that fit into strategies or play lines or specific decks that you want to discuss, leave them in the live chat down below. And of course, we'll get to them as we get to them. However, if you really want to insert your opinion on this video, Super Chat's the best way to do that. One, you're helping out the channel. Two, we'll talk about exactly what you want to talk about in the moment. However, I do want you to know, so far as the structure of this video is concerned, we will be looking at this set in Wooburg order, moving on to multicolored, colorless, in this case just artifacts, I believe, and lands. And that's it. That's the whole set review. in a nutshell. Guys, also, if you want to help out the channel, the best way to do so is with a pledge over on Patreon. There are benefits listed down below. There's apparel. There's swag now with mats and sleeves. The sleeves are fucking amazing. I love my playmat. I've had a few 99 playmats printed. This is the first one that hasn't come apart on me, so that's why. That's why I talk about it. But it's been great. Love all that stuff. Check it out down below. There's discounts for you guys if you go down below and use the link. And that's all I have to say about that. Now, without further ado, I think we should jump into this video, and I'll be back and forth with the chat and my screen, because as you know, we're a budget channel. I have my phone pulled up as a secondary monitor for all of your beautiful comments, so I'll be peering over to that systematically as we go through this. But we should probably take a look at Magic's website, where they have the image gallery set up for Adventures into the Forgotten Realms, specifically D&D Adventures into Forgotten Realms. And if you're not on this page yet and you want to follow along, if you're on your PC, Mac, or whatever, your home office setup, there's a link in the description for this too. Right? I also left it in the chat, but I think it's buried under a wall of comments now, so you can just ignore that. Or just watch the screen, because we're going to talk about all the cards that matter. So, I have a list on the side here. The first card I want to talk about, there are 4 cards in white we'll be discussing. Like I said, these are universally good and or have play in more than just one deck. But the first card I want to talk about, skipping a lot, is this one. So I really like Ingenious Smith. Like, I think she's quite good for the effect. But Ingenious Smith, for 1 generic, 1 white, creature, human, artificer, 1/1 body. When Ingenious Smith enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So this top effect is good with any sort of top deck tutor effect. Anything that, if you know you have an artifact up there, this is a good way to just put it in your hand. But in an artifact heavy list, which much of mono white is constructed of, like if you're looking at the new Oswald Fiddlebender, if you're looking at my Tasha deck, a lot of these lists rely heavily on artifacts. So hitting an artifact in the top 4 is not difficult, although a dig of 4 is usually not that good unless you have a certain amount of artifacts in the deck. So again, not for every list, but universally good in the fact that we all rely on artifacts to do things, at least in a cEDH setting. Whenever 1 or more artifacts enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on Ingenious Smith. This ability triggers only once each turn. That's okay. We're not too concerned with that. It's just the top effect we're concerned with. Human Artificer, also good Pyre of Hero bait. If you're on Pyre of Hero, maybe you hit Pyre of Hero in the top 4. But she's decent. Like any dig effect in white. And specifically, I point her out because white is somewhat limited on its card advantage or card quality effects. So anytime you get a new dig spell, anytime you get a new tutor in white, it's noteworthy, sad as that is to say. So Ingenious Smith makes the list because, well, white needed it. I'm skipping that dog, I know. You can ask me to talk about the dog in a second, but it's not on my mind because we're looking at Moon Blessed Cleric. 2 generic, 1 white, beautiful art, 3/2 body, creature, human, elf, cleric. Love it. Human, elf. Ah, shit, that's everything we want. Divine Intervention. I should mention that these aren't keywords or specific to the game. They're just flavor abilities. I forget what their exact wording is on what this is called, but none of that matters. It's a triggered ability that's on this card, and you're going to see this on a handful of cards we look at today. But when Moon-Blessed Cleric enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an enchantment card, reveal it, then shuffle it, and put it on top of your deck. A lot of its that weren't there, but you get where I'm going here. This girl finds enchantments. Sithis worthy? Probably. Switch out that Heliod Pilgrim for this. Any enchantment, that's actually quite a big deal. Obviously, if you have a commander that draws, then this is very good. Like if this was in a dedicated Arden and Tevesh list, and I play this out, and I put that sweet, sweet enchantment on top of my deck, I don't know, Necropotence, I can use Tevesh to eat this, draw it, and then play it out, right? She's not too hard to put down, fortunately, because she's 2 generic and 1 white. Many of the creature tutors are in that 3 CMC spot and are usually 2 generic and 1 color pip of their chosen color. This one's quite good in that range. It is a 2 top of deck, but what the hell were you expecting in white? Now, I realize I said on the show before the show that we were going to cover dungeons first, so I'm going to take a step back. We're going to look at all the dungeons. So just wipe this from your memory that we were ever in white, but we'll get back to white. I promise. Well, I want to take a look at these dungeons with you. Obviously, we're not going to really cover any venture commanders or venture cards, because in a world where you have infinite mana, anything's possible. You could probably run through all of these dungeons in one turn if you're crazy enough, if you have enough mana, and your legendary allows you to venture into dungeon. So yes, these are all outlets, and they're different outlets, and we can talk about them. We could also talk about their basic functionality for the game. But this is going to be the perfect example for us. So once we go through this category of card, and I forgot about it because the hell are dungeons? We haven't had dungeons. But normally, we go through the color, and then I discuss with you the color, and then you can mention the cards you want. But we'll do this with dungeons. So, very quickly. Oh my god. Dungeon of the Mad Mage. These are cards that exist outside of the game. When a card says venture into a dungeon, that means you either advance through a dungeon or you step into a dungeon the first time. Up at the top here. You can indicate that by, I don't know. You can bring, if you have like a penny or you have like a small die, put that where you are currently in the dungeon and make sure that that doesn't get shuffled around, because then you would be cheating. But basically, when you enter the dungeon, there's two things that happen. One, you activate whatever floor of the dungeon you're on, but also you move that dungeon to your command zone. Yes, the same command zone. That area can only have one dungeon at a time. So if I venture into a dungeon, I can only use Dungeon of the Mad Mage. I can't venture into another dungeon until I've completed Dungeon of the Mad Mage. But, you know, in an ideal world, you're going to do this infinitely, and then you can go through every dungeon, and that's really cool. Certain cards care about you having finished dungeons. How you check that, entirely up to you and your group. It doesn't really matter. I'm not sure if there's an official rule, but so long as you've done the dungeon, then you get those effects. But Yawning Portal, gain a life, dungeon level, scry 1. Goblin Bazaar, Creator Treasure, sure. Twisted Caverns, target creature can't attack you until your next turn. Lost level, scry 2. Runestone Caverns, and you choose, like, obviously you advance the number of spaces the arrow indicates, so you can't go back from Goblin Bazaar to Twisted Caverns. It's all fairly obvious. I feel like these cards are self-explanatory. Exile the top 2 cards of your library, you may play them. Well, Runestone Caverns, that's pretty sweet. Morale's Graveyard, I don't know how you pronounce that. Create 2 black skeleton creature tokens, sure. Deep Mind, scry 3. Oh my god, keep scrying. This is so mad. Mad Wizard's Lair. Draw 3 cards and reveal them. You may cast one of them without paying its mana cost. That is really good. So, obviously, this is an outlet. These are all arguably outlets, though, and it's going to depend on your commander which of these you want to venture into. But this one's good. I mean, hell, if I do that infinitely, I think I win the game. Lost Mine of Fandelver? Cave Entrance is scry 1. I'm just going to read the effect. You can either create a 1/1 goblin token or make another treasure, similar to this one, and there are treasure synergies in this set. Storeroom is put a 1/1 counter on target creature, cool. Dark Pool, each opponent loses 1 life, you gain 1 life, cool. Oh my god, Belby really wants that. Fungi Cavern, target creature gets -4 until the end of it. At the end, you draw a card. So yeah, you draw your deck with this one too. I guess because this one has less rooms, that it's effectively easier to accomplish, and then only a mad person would go into the Mad Mage dungeon. But you know, again, if you do that setup where you can do it infinitely, then who cares? Last one's really simple, and this feels like Belby bait if ever I've seen it. Each player loses 1 life. Each player loses 2 life. Each player loses 2 life unless they sacrifice an artifact, creature, or land. Oubliette, discard a card, and sacrifice an artifact. You do that to skip down to the bottom where you make a 4/4 legendary God Horror. Okay, I just want your opinions. What do you think of dungeons? We've discussed them on the community poll already. But those are all the rules for them. They exist. Yes, they've been confirmed for Commander if you haven't read. But yeah, we might see some cards that play with these, so that's important to note. This is likely a one-off effect for this set in particular, unless we revisit D&D in the future, which is very likely pending how well the set sells. So, dungeons, hit me up. But this set is not very exciting. Yeah. Why, the dungeon didn't do it for you? Am I not really even looking at the dungeons, as there won't be enough cards to do it in my decks? Maybe the Blink, a Blink one, I don't know. Yeah, you need to sort of make a dedicated dungeon delving list. I think that would ultimately make these effective, but it's important to note that you do have these as an effective resource. Just remember this as a backup. Like, if your list is lacking a outlet and you have a way to make infinite mana, infinite blink, like it could be like MEL with a creature that enters the battlefield and does a venture. And or white has one. It's this Eldrazi where it exiles a creature and you bring it back. We'll look at it really quick, and I'm sure someone will put it in the chat before I ever find it. But there's a couple of blink effects, a couple of blink cards. I think you need to pay colorless to do that, and 2 generic. I forget. We won't look that one. It's irrelevant, but you get what I'm saying. You can do dungeons. Will you do dungeons? When will you do dungeons? Tomb is a Rakdos enabler. Tomb of yeah, that's true. Tomb is the best in my opinion. That's interesting. Yeah. You know what's interesting? Like Tomb is, I feel like the one that's going to get slept on because these other ones have card quality effects, and usually in Commander, you know, you're playing against 3 opponents. You want as much card quality, much card advantage as you can get. So when these came out, everyone on the Discord's like, oh my god, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, like, wait, this is the one, you gotta play for this one. And it's like, well, when I looked at them, I thought Tomb of Annihilation was really sweet for Belby. Unfortunately, you know, there isn't some one drop that says, when this creature attacks, venture into a dungeon, because then that would be ideal. We would do that every game. We would play for that. And then obviously Tomb of Annihilation would be good, but as it stands, I'm not interested. Wish they had art. Yeah, I agree, Elliot. But this is very similar to like if you ever play D&D or Pathfinder, they'll give you like starter sets. If you buy a starter set, they'll give you like a mat that you can play with, and essentially it has a grid set up for you. This is very reminiscent of that. So, you know, in essence, it doesn't need art because that's what it's trying to emulate. But I can understand, like, it would be cool if they did like for the pre-release. I know that there's spin down. No, it's not. I'm sorry, it's the opposite of spin downs. They have random d20s, like actual d20s, random d20s, which you need to use when you're dice rolling. But maybe they'll give like special pre-release ones where there's like art on the back. That would be kind of cool. Or at least like they're probably going to do the thing where it's like the module, like this is what the dungeon is, and then you have to use your imagination like you would in D&D, right? So there's that. Eldrazi Displacer, thank you. You can use Eldrazi Displacer. Do bear in mind, I think there's a hiccup with how you activate it, but there's a ton of ways to, like, even if you had like infinite mana and a sack outlet and shallow grave and your adventure creature on top of your library, not shallow grave, corpse dance, whatever. I think we're probably ready to move on from dungeons. Am I wrong? The second word I misspelled because I'm a good. That's okay. How long before someone shows up to the LGS with WizKid style recreation of these? With a WizKid style recreation of these? How do you mean? Like, I used to play HeroClix, so I remember having like grid maps for that game. Do you mean that? Like, when I associate WizKids with HeroClix, although they do a lot of different products, I don't know if that's what you mean, but I'm going to assume that's what you mean because that's why I'm a fan of that company. We're moving on back to white, though. Okay, it's time to move on. Big plane chase cards would be cool for dungeons. Yeah, but it's like, it's so weird because it exists in the game, and if someone ventures and no one has the token, how awkward is that shit? By the way, if you're going to play with dungeons, please have the actual dungeon cards. You know, I hate when people show up to game with me and they don't have tokens. Like, if you swan song me, have a fucking swan. What is wrong with you? You know what? Here, quick PSA. If you're going to play this game and you have effects that generate tokens, particularly for your opponents, have the fucking tokens. It's not a kid's show. I'm sorry. I'm cursing. That's how I feel, though. It's obnoxious. Moving on. Talk about Spirit Dude that phases your staff. Okay. Moving on. Because guess what? We got the one. We got the only. The last Fiddlebender. So for 1 generic, 1 white, legendary creature, gnome, artificer, 2/2 body, can't see this airship crashing in the near future. Sturdy as a rock. Like my motherfucking boy over here. You can, with his magical tinkering ability, pay 1, tap it, sacrifice an artifact, search your library for an artifact card with a mana value of 2/1 plus the sacrifice artifact's mana value. Put it onto the battlefield and shuffle. Activate only at sorcery speed. Birthing pod on a creature in your command zone. Is it good? Watch the previous live stream. Wait for the deck tech. Is it good? It's really good. Yes, does white need more tutors? I mean, we can very loosely talk about this in the 99. As its own legendary, it's a very good commander. It's a very good toolbox commander. If you're playing heavy stacks, which is sort of how I'm leaning Oswald, You have an answer to every single deck at the table at your disposal whenever you tap them. There are stacks elements within 1, 2, 3 CMC that are perfect. You can graduate your Graph Digger's Cage to a Weathered Runestone, or if you didn't want that anymore, maybe a Void Mirror, make that Void Mirror a Trini Sphere. Whatever you want to do, you're able to do that. And obviously, you can scale up much like you would Birthing Pod with similar effects like 1000-Year Elixir, Mage Ride Stone. There's a ton of ways to escalate through the deck. It's extremely fun. But in the 99, does it need synergies to be good? No, you are tutoring shit to the field. Moving on. Okay. Last card I want to talk about. Right there. There's cool promo art for it, so get hyped. We are looking at the Portable Hole. So, for 1 white artifact, when Portable Hole enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls with mana value 2 or less until Portable Hole leaves the battlefield. Well, Pat, why don't you just run Fragmentize? Huh? You're so smart. I can hit anything from 4 CMC or less. You can hit any artifact or enchantment for 4 CMC or less. But you can't hit any non-land permanent. Now, what's important about this is that it's an exile and not a destroy. So in a lot of cases where you just damage something or destroy it, that person's going to recur it or get it back pending the list. There's a way to get it back. And or it's just Underworld Breach fodder at that point. But temporarily exiling a thing is pretty solid in this situation. And for 1 white pip, if that Null Rod is stopping you from winning the game, and I'm looking at you, Tasha, Portable Hole. Portable Hole. Oh, wait, it also hits Collector Oops. Oh, wait, it hits any stacks piece that's 2 and under. Now, mind you, there are stacks elements that are 3 CMC or more. You're not going to hit those, but for everything else, there's Portable Hole. So, I love this card. I think it's going to be very good. I think it's probably underappreciated right now. But do bear in mind, it being an artifact is important for lists that care about historics. It being an artifact means it's very easy to recur. There's tons of things that switch back, like not only in white, but in red, that bring back artifacts from your graveyard. There are lists that just care about artifacts, and cards that just care about artifacts. So, very good effect. Speaking of cards that care about artifacts, Oswald Fiddlebender. Why not? But guys, that's it for white. That's all I had to say about white. Let me know what you think about white. Does it get you all tingly? Let me know those cards that make you feel really tingly. Extra tingly. Only the extra tingly ones. I'm guessing stuff like Smothering Tithe would be great for Gnome Officer. You would think so, Matt Robertson. But I don't run shit like that or monologue tax. If you feel like you can pump that out quickly enough, then sure. But it's never going to be a priority. So, as I've tested the deck, I can reliably push a win between turns 3 and 5. And I would say that's like a mid-range deck, right? But I'm not focusing or trying to work towards a Smothering Tithe. And if it happens, because like we can't reliably get Smothering Tithe out. And I know you'd think it's good because you make treasures. Treasures are, you know, manaless artifacts. And then you can sort of like graduate them to being 1-drops. And that's cool. And that is cool. But it's not necessary. It's an unneeded redundancy. The curve is so low that Smothering Tithe is useless. You're going to likely make more treasures than you have anything to do with them. Despite the fact that, yes, you need white to activate Oswald. So if you're playing for Oswald, you can play Smothering Tithe. I would recommend against it. I own a Smothering Tithe. Maybe we'll do a giveaway. I'll give it to someone. One lucky player. Because I never use it. It's not a good card. It's not quick enough in most settings. But if you're playing a very stacks heavy list, reliably so, and you want to play for it, you can play for it. I'd even use it in Sithis. And it would probably be good in Sithis. Cancel the giveaway. Maybe I'll put it in Sithis, but only there. I don't a mono-colored deck, but I'm excited for the set because I always wanted to build mono white. Ivan, yes, get excited, get hyped for Oswald. Again, legitimately, I really think just as a toolbox commander, this is a very good commander. Wait for the deck tech, build your own, have fun with it. It's a very fun legendary. Easily the most fun I've had in a long time because it was really causing me to think, which you usually don't have to do in Commander when you have strategies that are as simple as cast Ad Nauseam, cast fast mana, and win, right? Oswald, you actually have to consider your plays, and I like that. I like a contemplative deck. So it's very fun. I enjoy Flumph. Thoughts on Paladin Class for Sithis? Okay, so I am going to play Paladin Class. So I'll look at Flumph. I'll look at Flumph, and I'll look at Paladin Class really quick. So for 1 white... Enchantment Class, this is a new subtype. But basically, it's like any sort of role-playing game. You're picking your class. And much like leveling up creatures, you can level up classes. Although it's not... I think it is called levels. Wait up. Gain the next level as a sorcery to add to its ability. So it's just like leveling up, as a matter of fact. So for 1 white, spells your opponents cast during your turn cost 1 more to cast. We've seen this effect before on other cards, enchantments, and 1 creature. These are fine. I think that, you know, this is going to be good to get that top deck tutor, not much else, but also offer you protection. I don't really think that we're going to level up this card past 2, because for 2 generic 1 white creatures you control get +1/+1. Now, why is that effective? Why is that good? Why would you want to do that? In Sithis, we're relying on Walking Ballista and Heliod, right? The Sun Crowned. So if I do Paladin Class, I spend 4 mana on it, 1 for the initial cast, and then 3 to level it up. On a future turn, when I go to play Walking Ballista, I can cast Walking Ballista for 0 and have him enter as a 1/1, right? He'll effectively, he won't die because he's +1/+1, provided Paladin Class is still on the battlefield. But that shortcuts the Heliod combo by, well, that much. It's 0. Mind you, the trick from here now is to use Heliod's ability to pass counters from gaining life. If Sithis is out, play any other enchantment, gain life, move a counter to the guy, give him lifelink, right? So it's X for the enchantment spell, X for the lifelink, and then just start pinging players. But this helps you shortcut the cost. I'm really just thinking about it as a 1 CMC cantrip that's good on my turn, but otherwise it's fine. I don't know if it's for any other lists, but thank you for bringing up Paladin Class. I'm considering it. I have a short list of cards that are going to go on my decks. If you follow me on Tapped Out, you can... It's really just for the decks. All the decks I've made public, the ones that are mainstays for me, I update them, and if you want to follow along with my Sithis deck, just expect to see new cards rotate in and out of those decks over on Tapped Out. Flump. 1 generic 1 white creature jellyfish, 0/4 body, defender flying. Whenever Flump is dealt damage, you and target opponent each draw a card. So I guess the cute thing to do here would be to screw over the Thassa's Oracle player. I mean, if they see Flump on the battlefield, they'll be conscious that you can somehow, or maybe ping this to make them draw a card and then have them lose, right, in response to their trigger on the stack. That might be one thing. And it's not a May, so they're kind of forced into that situation. But giving your opponent's card advantage is never a good thing. And it's funny because, like, I feel like WotC's trying to address our major issue of the fact that white doesn't have draw, and they're doing it in all the wrong ways. This is not how it should be done. I don't want card equality. I want card advantage, and then give my opponent give it a jellyfish. Give him a 1/1 jellyfish. Give it a 0/1 jellyfish for me drawing a card. But, like, don't, because we generate tokens too, right? Anything else would be better than giving my opponent a card, is what I'm saying. Even if there is some one-off line of play where you could stop a Thassa's Oracle player from winning. Really, I don't see that being a thing, but, you know. Love the Tutoring Artificer. Gonna put it in Kemba and maybe Teshar. I think Teshar is a must for sure. Antonio, I'm considering Oswald and Portable Hole and Luris. Those would be good spot for it. Let me see here. Don't usually touch mono white, so I don't know how low color white decks evaluate cards. Messed with Buddy's Teshar deck, but that's more artifacts tribal. Most white decks are artifact tribal. It really depends, but most of the competitive level mono white decks are going to be predominantly artifact based because they're relying on stacks elements to help them get to the latter half of the game, because many a white list struggle with finding the cards they need, and that's why Oswald is so good. You kind of just get what you need when you need it, and that's why I love it. Flump plus Hull Breacher. Are you saying you respond to Flump with a Hull Breacher? That would be great. I like the 3 mana ETB draw, gain 1 life. Are we talking about the, it's like a dwarf, or, if you know the name, let me know. I'm going to very quickly look for it, but then we're going to move on to blue. I don't see it. I know what you're referring to. There's plenty of effects that do this, by the way. It's this guy right here, right? Priest of the Ancient Lore. Okay, so Dwarf Cleric, 2/1 body, when it enters the battlefield. Alright, so you have Filigree Familiar, you have the Thopter. There's a bunch of creatures that do this in one form or another, whether it dies or it's entering, you draw a card. And these are kind of filler. In a limited setting, this would be fine, right? It catches you back up. You have a 2/1 body that can trade up. Obviously, you get a card, so you're replacing it. It's a good way to dig through your list in a limited setting, but I think in a 4-player game, it's not going to really quite cut it. So, from there, let's move on to blue. And again, after I'm done covering all the sweet, sweet blue cards, I'm going to turn to you, and you can tell me what you want to hear about or talk about. Again, all about the conversation here. I'm going to go way down this list. way down this list. This is a card that was spoiled early. And I heard some people testing it. I heard left and right. It's good. It's bad. I don't give a shit. I'm looking at it. It looks like an outlet. I like it. Let's do it. Tasha's Hideous Laughter. For 1 generic double blue, sorcery. Each opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until that player has exiled cards with a total mana value of 20 or more. That's... Consider the average ad nauseum. Like, how many cards does that guy whip out of his list, right? Bearing in mind that, they may have 36 life at this point. Maybe they have 40 if they whipped it out like turn 1, no one did anything, they never lost life. But how many cards do you see? A lot, right? Like, typically a lot. Most cEDH lists, their curve is lower, so they stop pretty early. Like, if this happened against my Belby deck, you're not going to get anywhere, you're not going to hit too much. You're going to hit a handful of things. What's nice about this, though, is that it's good against those top deck tutors. It's asymmetrical. It doesn't hurt you. And it's, what's funny is, like, I've seen people lose off of a soft demonic consultation. Just exiling the right number of things removes your potential to win a game. Easily, at least. If not just entirely, right? Concretely, it's going to be difficult for you. So Tasha's Hideous Laughter is fine at removing multiple threats. Now, I know the typical blue player is like, nah, it's sorcery speed. 1, that's one fault. And 2, it doesn't say counter in any form. So I can't play that. Well, poo-poo on you, because this is still a good spell. And the thing is, if you have, in a world with infinite mana, let's just say you're playing Izzet Storm, you can use something like a Reiterate to just do this infinitely. It's just an outlet that exists in the list that was played out for value earlier. It's good. It's not a bad card. It's a good card. Do I think it's for every list? Not necessarily. I do think 3 is the tipping point. I like the fact that they're now somewhat changing their ways with how they, cost these cards out. This being 1 generic double blue makes it somewhat limited in play, right? Why the hell wasn't Hull Breacher 1 generic double blue? Why wasn't he triple blue? Opposition Agent, same story. Like, they made a lot of cards recently that are extremely good, extremely playable, and that was a mistake. Something like this is limited in how you can play it, but it's still quite good, right? But that's really the only blue card I want to talk about. So I turn to you. What blue cards do you want to talk about? Tasha's Hideous Laughter for Vadruk. I believe you. Rolling Floor Laughing would be awesome against an Adnos deck. I think so, right? I think so. And everyone's an Adnos deck. Anytime I see black at the table, I can roughly assume that that person's manipulating Adnos, whether for value or for a win. And if someone says they're only playing Adnos for value, that's bullshit. Even a soft Adnos, if you just draw 12 cards, you have something. You must have something. You're in black. Is that a tutor? That's an Imperial Seal. It's a demonic tutor. You probably have something. So, yes, I think it's going to be good against the Adnoses of the world. I like that it exiles instead of going to graveyard. That too, right? So it's not feeding their Underworld Breach. Like, you're just eliminating cards from their deck. That's quite good. And a lot of people don't rely on anything like Pull from Eternity or Rift Sweeper or anything to call back cards from exile. Now, the only person that this is helping is potentially a Food Chain list. I guess you could do Food Chain Tiamat now, or Food Chain Sliver, which is sort of far and away the best Food Chain deck. But yeah, if it's a Food Chain deck at the table, maybe Tasha's isn't good unless you're going for a win on that same turn. Maybe you don't want to do that. Josh272 says it doesn't say counter. Correct. That's how you know it's trash. All my blue spells are instant. That should be its own YouTube short. Just a guy who refuses to use sorcery spells in his fucking blue deck. Tasha's H is deceptively good. It's a coin flip, but you may very well hit key cards. But you shouldn't rely on it alone. I agree with that. Why was Hull Breacher not 1 generic double white is the real question. Um, why? Yeah, why? Why? I don't know. because white gets shit like this. Oh yeah, let's give white a stacks piece. Let's give white a stacks piece that's useful. How about this one? Each opponent can't venture into dungeon more than once each turn. That seems like a good white stacks piece. How about that one that's useful? Give it to blue. Is there a decent stacks piece we can make from this set? Give it to a different color. I mean, I'm looking at Dothy Voidwalker from fucking Modern Horizons. That thing's amazing. And it's definitely not white. And it makes sense in black, but I think we all can argue that it would have been nice for white to get some advantage against the wheels of the world. Because blue uses Time Twister, Windfall. They have the wheels. You're giving the color with wheels benefit. You're just letting them play everything for extra benefit. It is so stupid. Anyway, I think we're done with blue, or we're moving on from blue. I take it. What is your opinion on Staff of Waterdeep? Oh my god, we're not moving on from blue. Guys, the hell continues. We're not done with this dungeon yet. We gotta venture through a few more cards. Let's go. The Black Staff of Waterdeep. I enter by paying 1 blue. Scry 1. Keeping that on top. Legendary artifact. You may choose not to untap the Black Staff of Waterdeep during your untap. Damn. I wish next time I'll make a D20 game that we can play, like a drinking game or something for this set. I don't know what it could be. Or you can introduce a drinking game right now. Let's make this fun. Because, you know, something's got to elevate this set. All right. You may choose not to untap the Black Staff. Cool. On your untap step. Cool. Animate Walking Statue. It does exactly what you think it does. Pay 1 generic, pay 1 blue, tap it. Another target non-artifact you control becomes a 4/4 artifact creature as long as the Black Staff of Waterdeep remains tapped. Activate only at sorcery speed. You get a... Well, okay, so you need 2 artifacts down. You need 2 artifacts. The other one can't be a token. So all that treasure synergy... Fuck you, is what they said. They're like, no, that treasure is solely going to be a treasure. You need to play artifacts. You're going to make an artifact of 4/4 really do nothing, because sadly this 4/4 doesn't have any effects. And I think this being a legendary artifact, I kind of expected more. Like, I feel like this statue should at least... Trample's not really a blue thing, but really anything would have elevated this if it had some wording on it. It would be really nice. I think it's fine. I wouldn't play for this necessarily. It's just okay. Especially at sorcery speed, it kind of ruins, like... Again, blue likes doing things at instant speed. So, like, the fact that I can't hold my mana for anything else on other players' turns, I have to tap on my turn to do this for 2 is kind of harsh. Gives yourself hexproof. Cheapest self hexproof. What is? Moving on. I don't know what the hexproof is. Oh, the white card. You're right. Yes. I'm sorry. Hexproof. You. Important. The non-token part kills this card for me, to be honest. Yeah, me too. This one's just for standard. Yeah, and this set is, replacing... I believe this is replacing the core set for this year. So it's, it's not really meant for Commander players, but whatever. We got a handful of cards, right? We usually do. These one-offs, because we're a singleton set, we only need so many cards to be good. We're a singleton format, excuse me. We only need so many cards to be good, but yeah, kind of a shame. Moving on. Oh, boy, do I have a combo for you. There are 2 black cards I want to discuss, and then, I'll take questions. Is it Asmodeus? Asmodeus? I'm going to say Asmodeus, because that sounds doper. Asmodeus the Archfiend, 4 generic, double black, legendary creature, devil god, 6/6 body. He has a binding contract. If you would draw a card, exile the top card of your library face down instead. Well, that doesn't seem good. Let's read the bottom effect first. Pay 1 black. It's even the card for your turn, by the way. Damn. Yeah, so your natural draw is just exiled. Return all cards exiled with Asmodeus the Archfiend to your owner's hand and lose that much life. So this feels kind of shit, right? Like, why would you ever do this? I don't draw anymore. I have to pay a black and lose life to gain the cards I've exiled. But, much like our good friend Grizzlebrand, banned, Unfun. Banned. Pay 3 black. Draw 7 cards. Hold up now. Not as good as Grizzlebrand, I know. But have you heard of a little card called Necrotic Ooze? Have you heard of this guy? As long as Necrotic Ooze is on the battlefield, it has all activated abilities of cards in graveyards. Well, Pat, Asmodeus is my commander. Well, you're doing it wrong. Don't make him your fucking commander. Because there's a little card called Buried Alive. Gonna run you through the combo I had in mind. For 2 generic, 1 black sorcery speed, not a blue card, because that's sorcery. Would never run that. Search your library for up to 3 cards. Put them into your graveyard, then shuffle. Okay, well, what? You get Necrotic Ooze. You get Asmodeus. What else do you get, Pat? Do you get this card? Do you potentially get this Phyrexian Imp? For 5 mana, we're never going to cast it. Flying, discard a card, add a black. So, Buried Alive, Reanimate. If you have 3 cards in hand, make 3 black, draw 7. You're not exiling shit. We don't like that. Discard 3 cards. Draw 7 more. Discard 3 cards. Draw 7 more. Is this a good combo? I'm not going to play for it, but I give it to you. Maybe you play for it. Is this a good card? Again, when you're weighing this against the top dog, the game-winning Grizzlebrand, you know, look, pay 7 life, draw 7 cards. That's pretty good. Are they exiled first? No. You just get them. Obviously, this guy's banned. Not obviously. He's very good. I'm not certain he's worthy of a ban. I mean, you're just getting rid of good reanimate targets. Are we all going to be forced to use Razakath? Is that the reanimate target? All right. Well, Asmodeus is fine. Unmarked Grave's not going to hit him, but he's fine. He's a combo card in the combo I've just illustrated, sure. By himself, I don't think this is fantastic. I wouldn't really run this unless I was going for a Buried Alive pile. And I don't know if you want this as your commander. I feel like people are just going to stomp you out of the game. But you can try it, and I'd love to find out how it works. Because the next card, look at that halfling. Don't say Kithkin. Deadly Dispute. For 1 generic, 1 black, instant speed, has additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice an artifact, sacrifice a creature. Oh, I'm going to sacrifice my Protean Hog. Combo on combo on combo. Draw 2 cards and create a treasure token. Oh, I love me some treasures. Instant speed. Do I think this card's good? I think it's okay. I like draw. I like that it color fixes. I like that it's technically 1 mana after the fact. I like that it has a wide scope of things you can sacrifice to do this. I know a lot of people don't like sacrificing things. That makes sense. I get that. But it can be a token even, that artifact. You can sacrifice a token artifact. It's okay. And it's another draw utility. And black likes these, right? Village Rites, I think was mentioned during the show before the show. Blood Rite, I think is the name of the card. There's Knight's Whisper. There's a couple of like pay life draw effects. And now they're utilizing more sacrifice a thing draw effects. And I like these, especially one that gives you the color fixing, because this is making this more versatile for multicolored decks. So I could see this being a good utility in the future, especially when you're doing the ad nauseam and like your one tutor is a top deck tutor, like you have your worldly tutor or whatever, and you're trying to pull into some form of combo. You can use Deadly Dispute, fortunately, to get the top deck tutor out and also give yourself the mana to play the thing, like Leafos's Oracle or some nonsense like that. But yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I don't think it's going to be for every list, but it's good. That's really all that there was in black. So hit me up. Did I miss anything? Let me know. What do you want to look at? Asmodeus and Maricel the Pretender. I bet you that's good. I've not played against Maricel, but I'd love to see it. You could also activate to draw 7 and sack him in response. Yeah, you could. Yeah. And you sack him in response, and then that would be an interesting way to set up your Necrotic Ooze line. You just leave him in the... If you're using him as your commander, you can leave him in the graveyard, right? That's not... Yeah, you can do that. Combo is perfect, and I love it. Thank you. You can also... Yeah, well, you read that. Not going to talk about Acreac Rooftop Storm. This guy? Oh, is there... No, because we, I mentioned earlier that I wasn't really going to jump on any of the venture cards. Again, you know, they're not It's not difficult for anyone to fathom that if you can venture infinitely, you'll win the game. Mono black has a really tough time right now. I'd say of all the mono colors, despite having all the tutors, it has a really tough time. You know, Crick is okay. There's not very many. Tiny Bones is okay. They all really suffer. And we can look at Asurrak, the Archlich. Look at that skull staff. This dude. Damn. Isn't that Coach 2020? Part of their fall collection? I forget. For 2 generic 1 black, legendary creature zombie wizard. Oh my god. Gravecaller line. Set up. Assembled. Let's go. 5/5 body. We'll read the less important part first, I guess. Whenever Ace attacks, for each opponent, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token unless that player sacrifices a creature. Ah! Whenever Ace enters the battlefield, if you haven't completed Tomb of Annihilation, return Ace to its owner's hand and venture into the dungeon. Oh. I don't know the storm then. Is it mind blowing? Blow my mind. I don't really want to do the math here. So return Ace to its owner's hand and venture into the dungeon. So I'm assuming you can venture into any dungeon. It doesn't mean you have to venture into Tomb of Annihilation. So that you could just with infinite mana venture into Mad Mage, which is everyone's favorite, and do that infinitely. And provided you still haven't done Tomb of Annihilation, you just keep doing this. And you would use I don't know, Nim. You would use Nim Deathmantle, some Priest of Gix Nim Deathmantle combo with Ashnod's Altar. I don't know. This isn't okay. I'm sorry. Is this good? With Allurin seems good. Oh, I'm looking at mono black. I'm sorry. Wait, are we trying to play for this as like a combo in another deck? I don't know. I feel like there's better things. I feel like there's better things to do. Allurin is far better than Rooftop Storm for him. Oh, okay. There's a card called Rooftop. Oh, wait. I don't know what Reddit threads you're on. I don't subscribe. You may pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost of zombie creature spells. Got it. But what's better than this? I'm sorry. Allurin. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, if you're in Golgari, right? But if you guys don't know what Allurin is, I just sold my copy of Allurin. I'm never going to be able to build this guy. Ace. So far out of reach. Everyone gets the benefit. Do the Hull Breacher for free, motherfucker. Hit my wheel. For 2 generic double green enchantment, any player may play creatures with converted mana cost of 3 or less without paying their mana cost, and as if they had flash. So Ace, Golgari Ace. Well, I don't see green down here. Shit, you gotta pull some weight, boy. You wanna do things on my turf. All right, that's Ace. I gotta move on. I'm taking you seriously, but I'm not sure that this is gonna blow anyone's minds. I really do hope to lose against Ace, though. That would be kind of cool. Any other black card? Let's stop trolling. Thanks. Artless summoning Carnival of Souls, a way to gain life. Yeah, you could. Rooftop Storm is just omniscience for zombies. It is. With Rooftop, you can cast your... Oh my god. Moving on. I'm going to red. You guys are... Build the Ace list and link it in the Discord, okay? Share it with everyone, because everyone deserves this. Everyone deserves this. Give me the Dimir list that cheats out Rooftop Storm and Ace. It's cool. It's cool that that is a thing. And I also think it's cool that it's a thing with Allurin too. God. I already know what the first card is, but I have a little checklist here. There you go. I got 3 cards to discuss in red. 3 cards. Boots of Speed. Look at those laces. Are these the newest Nikes? For 1 red, artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 and has haste. It's 1 to equip. It's another haste enabler. I know that doesn't excite you, but at the low cost of 2, 1 generic, 1 red, you have a haste enabler. This is actually a really good haste enabler. And in lists that care about it, like you're in a Heb, and any sort of attack-based combo, right, or where you might have a trigger, this is really nice. Like a Kiri Line Slinger, if you're playing with her, you're throwing down. Not Kiri, what's the one? It's not the Line Slinger, is the partner one. I do mean the other one. Fearless Voyager. right? You want to have creatures swinging and draw cards. This is really cool. I like Boots of Speed quite a bit. Now, again, not for every list, but it's a super enabler for the lists that care. Now, speaking of Priest, I've got a combo for you. This is not going to be as exciting as the other combo. But Inferno of the Star Mounts for 4 generic double red. This is some good art. Velomachus, you got to give Velomachus a run for his money. This dragon, legendary creature dragon, can't be countered. How does that feel? Blue players, let me know. How does that feel in the comment section down below? Does that sting? Does it hurt knowing you can't counter my dragon? Not that your mental misstep would have worked anyways. Flying Haste. Oh my god, it can already swing. It can swing on arrival. It's just like Velomachus. Pay 1 red. Inferno of the Star Mounts gets +1/+0 until end of turn. When his power becomes 20, this way, it deals 20 damage to any target. So, I already mentioned this combo earlier. It's funny, we got to it prematurely. But if you have Nim Deathmantle, Ashnod's Altar, and a Priest of Urabrask, well, you make 3 red. You make 2 generic. Nim Deathmantle brings that boy back. You're net red every single time. If you don't know the combo, I'm not going to illustrate it. It's not important. I'm only bringing this up because, yeah, this guy's an outlet too. I'm just saying it would be equally as cool to win by shooting fireballs at people for 20 damage as it would be with Ace. I'm going to get off that very quickly before we really delve into a conversation as to whether that's worthy or not. It's not. Don't do that. It's really not worth it. It was a cool dragon, okay? I can't not talk about the cool dragon because this is a D&D set. By the way, spoiler, the only dragon I'm talking about. We covered 3 dungeons, 1 dragon. I've met my quota. You find some prisoners. For 1 generic, 1 red, instant speed. Choose 1. Break their chains, destroying target artifact, or do you interrogate them? Exile the top 3 cards of target opponent's library. You choose 1 of them. Until the end of your next turn, you may play that card, and you may spend mana as though it were any mana to cast it. I didn't DM that well, but you get the idea. It's like a Braid's younger brother that doesn't kill creatures. Is it good? Yeah, it's okay. So what's cool about this is that, am I going to run this in Rograk and Tevesh, or am I going to run this in a list that's storming? And when you have infinite mana, you can do a lot of things. But if you find some prisoners and you reiterate while it's on the stack, choosing interrogate them, you could literally exile someone's entire library and exile every single card they have. And exile some potential win cons. So is it good? Yeah. Yeah, I can dig through your list. I can destroy your top deck tutor. Are you still using Doomsday piles? I'll destroy your Doomsday pile. It's not bad. It's not amazingly good. I don't know if it deserves a slot in many decks, but the artifact destruction is relevant because most of the stacked pieces of the world are artifact based. So destroy it while you're at it, and you have this as a potential outlet in a list that's utilizing Reiterate as a win. For my Rograk and Tevesh list, if you haven't seen the primer, you make infinite mana very easily with 1 of 2 cards, and basically you can utilize Reiterate with Lightning Bolt to kill the board. You could use Reiterate with Praetor's Grasp to exile people's libraries. You can use Reiterate with really anything to stop players, but this is an outlet. I mean, I'm sure there's 100 outlets here, but this one's actually useful on the side. All right, that is actually it, believe it or not. We had 3 cards from Red to discuss, and I'm curious, which were your favorites? Is there anything for you in Red from this set? I'm going to exile Inferno from the stack. You find some prisoners. It's no Abrade, but it's an honorable mention. There are plenty of counters that don't actually counter. What? It says dragons, that's plural. You got to talk about at least 1 more. Oh, God. Well, fine. We'll talk about Tiamat. How about that? 10 out of 10 accent by me. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I've been practicing. I saw someone come up with a Tiamat cEDH combo with Dream Halls, if we're talking about dragons. Yeah, you could do that, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Dream Halls is cool. I guess we can talk about that when we get to multicolor, but just in case, people need to see what Dream Halls is. It's a blue card, if I'm not mistaken. Rather than pay the mana cost for a spell, its controller may discard a card that shares a color with that spell. So basically, you can cheat out Tiamat, and then you can cheese out, I'm assuming, with the 5 dragons you're getting, 5 different colored dragons. It seems a little memey, but I mean, you could do that, or you could do food chain, right? If you do a food chain combo with Tiamat, you're in 5 colors. You pull all your dragons, you have mana to cast creatures, you cast all the dragons, you win with dragons. It's all very memey, right? But it's a win. It's a win still. You know, having a bunch of dragons in your list, are they going to be valuable every single turn? When someone goes off with an ad nauseum and you're holding 5 dragons, do you feel good about yourself? I don't know. But you're playing the dragon deck, right? So at least you got there. Let's see here. It kills top deck tutors. Yeah, I do like that about that card. I feel the black dragon has some potential, but still haven't figured it out. We can... Well, we're off black. We're off black. If only Wish was usable. Yeah, kind of. But you have dungeons. Those are kind of wishes, right? You have really shitty companions. Those are kind of wishes, right? Urtai's meddling doesn't counter unlike delay. Critical hit. Can't I just roll dice on a whim? Oh, I think I wrote down critical hit, and it didn't make the cut. We can talk about critical hit really quick. And it's just another interesting utility because it's a cheap double strike in red. 1 generic, 1 white, target creature gains double strike until the end of turn. When you roll a natural 20, return critical hit from your graveyard to your hand. How often is that going to happen? I don't know, but it's a super flavor win. Like, that's a really cool effect for this card. Obviously, having double strike at instant speed is fantastic. It's good on a block. It's good for trading up. It's good for doing damage triggers. I like critical hit quite a bit. It's going to be for Neheb if you're interested, and maybe a handful of other aggro commanders, but I think that's probably why I didn't mention it. It's very specific. But I'm going to move on to green. I think. Well, unless we... Orb of Dragonkin is pretty okay for mono dragon deck. Oh my god. Okay, we got one more. We'll do this one. And then officially we're moving on. Okay, I'm sorry. Orb of Dragonkind. Kinder Surprise. 1 generic, 1 red. Rare from the set. There's a little baby dragon there. Look at that. What is it? What's the line from Harry Potter? Something fireball? I forget. Doesn't matter. 1 generic, tap it. Add 2 mana in any combination of colors. Spend this mana only cast dragons. Dragon spells and activate abilities of dragons. Sarkhan. Get excited. For 1 red, tap. Sacrifice Orb of Dragonkind. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. Velomachus, anyone? You may reveal a dragon card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your... Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. I don't know what dragon decks are out there, but I'm sure there's some. I'm not sure that every deck's going to want that, though. There's only 1 card in green. Well, you know, for as much as people complain about green, they don't get much for cEDH, I gotta say. Green doesn't get a lot for Commander that's really useful. But there's 1 new card. Circle of Dreams Druid. For triple green. Look at that guy just caressing that tree. Look at that little monkey. Oh my god, there's so many things on this tree. You know why? For 2 1 body, creature elf druid, tap it, add 1 green for each creature you control. Oh, the illustration makes sense. Yeah. It's a expensive, it's a more expensive Guy's Cradle. Is Growing Rights of Itlimoc better? I don't... It's just any time that there's a good effect. Well, I mean, if you can hit this on the same turn, then Growing Rights of Itlimoc is technically better, right? Because it's 2 generic and 1 green. But it's also not summoning sick. I don't know. I feel like Itlimoc's better, and you really don't see this played. But I do want to mention this because it is Guy's Cradle on a stick. That's cool. Is it good? I don't know. I don't know yet. But yeah. What do you guys think about green from the set? Is there anything from green outside of Circle of Dreams Druid that you want to discuss? Ramos card, maybe? Maybe. What do you think about the new Gruul Dragon Legend? We'll get to it soon, I'm sure. Circle of Dreams Druid with Nath. Very true. Growing Rights flips on your end step. Yeah. But Circle of Dreams Druid is summoning sick. So, I mean, at least I have access to this immediately. You do have to hit X amount of creatures at the beginning of your end step if you have 4 more creatures. But it's just easier to put down. I can put this down sooner than I could this guy, right? Like my turn 1 mana crypt, and another reason why Dryad Arbor is good. There you go. From our recent video. It's one of the bodies you need for this damn thing. I don't play Growing Rites of Itlimoc. I don't recommend you play Growing Rites of Itlimoc. I don't know if Circle of Dreams Druid is good, but you can play it if you want. The Legendary Green Dragon is cool. Say no more. Say no more. I'll be looking for that legendary border. Give me 1 second. Old Gnawbone. He's kind of cute. Not a very big dragon, is he? Those trees are... It's either those trees are sizable and he's small, or those trees are massive and he's huge. For 5 generic double green, a very expensive boy. Legendary creature dragon 7/7 Bade. Flying. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, create that many treasure tokens. Name that combo. Go ahead. Hit me up with a combo. Long Rest and Belby? Is Long Rest a green card? I think it is. Long Rest. But yeah, you make mana. That's usually good. That's universally good, right? I think it's slow at that cost. You're going to want to natural order this out. I don't think you're ever going to play this dragon as your commander. You could, but I don't know. Is this a good Belby card, though? Long Rest, X, triple green. Is that Tibble? No, it can't be Tibble. Look at that candle. This is just a good illustration. This is just good art. Return X target cards with different mana values from your graveyard to your hand. So it's almost like Agadim's Awakening. If 8 or more cards were returned to your hand this way, your life total becomes equal to your starting life total. I mean, yeah, I guess you could not... I don't think I'm going to use this, but you can. And I don't shame you for it. I think it's fine. This isn't necessarily where I want to sink my mana, you know, and I'm not really sure where this slots in either. It's okay recovery. But the thing is, you're spending so much mana to do the thing. Like, are you doing anything else on your turn? I would rather we just play for cards that are going to be more impactful. It's okay that stuff gets bumped to our graveyard. Again, like the Agadim's Awakening to get some of our creatures back. That's cool. Not necessary. It's there because it's an expensive land that works with our combo line with Necrotic Ooze. At any rate, I think we can pass on Long Rest, though. Aggravated Assault with that dragon. Yes. Not if Gnawbone is your commander. But you can get really aggressive in a Gruul deck. Aggravated S. Let's go. 3 generic, double red. Untap all creatures you control. After this main phase, there's an additional main phase followed, additional combat phase followed by an additional main phase. Activate only as a sorcery. So what's nice about making treasures is you can make treasures and use them on your next main phase. And just go at it. Just go at it. Really hand it to him. Triple green and Belby is a lot. It is kind of a lot. I agree with that. Do you think the instrument of the bard is too slow? Oh god, I love this art so much. This is easily my favorite art from the set. It's just so gorgeous. Like, this composition is great. The lighting's great. The animals look amazing. Who did the art? Randy Gallegos? Thumbs up. Big fan of the show. Thanks for watching. That's not true. I would have his art all over this room if that was a fact. Instrument of the Bards. For 1 green legendary artifact, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a harmony counter on Instrument of the Bards. So, as this comes in, it doesn't have anything. Kind of rough, right? 3 generic, 1 green, tap, search your library. I'm going to just stop there. It's already too slow. But search your library for a creature card with mana value equal to the number of harmony counters on Instrument of the Bard. Reveal it. Put it into your hand. If that card is legendary, create a treasure token, then shuffle. So it's always nice seeing new tutors, but tutors that cost this much and are this restricted are never going to be a go. It's entirely too slow. And I'm not even referring to the mana value. I'm referring to the top effect. Like, our harmony counters are contingent on upkeeps. The game can end in 2 upkeeps. Like, I'm not... What did I grab and put in my hand at 4 mana? It's very slow. It's unfortunate that Randy Gallegos' art is relegated to such a shit card. I really wish it was better. It feels like a budget Yisan, and Yisan's already budget. Just play Yisan. I think that would be a better choice. Yeah, I think we're moving on though. Gnawbone does some wild things in Chatterfang. Oh yeah, I could see that. I could see that. That would be dope. Again, do the natural order. Do the natural order dance. Get your Gnawbone down. Start swinging. But yeah, moving on from green, I think we're safe to do that. Got a couple of multicolored buddies to look at, just a handful. I've got 3 for you, and of course, I'm all ears as to what you want to see. Someone was asking, I did not record this, but we can talk about it. Yes, this is a good ward card. If you are playing ward, if you followed my ward list, this is a good ward card. Particularly the second level of this card, but it's great. It's really great. I don't know if it's for the list. I haven't revised mine in a while, but this is for any list that happens to be in Boros. Fighter class, that's right. I usually picked Ranger in most of those RPGs, but Ranger in Magic is not very good. So we're going to stick with Fighter class this time around. For 1 red, 1 white, when Fighter class enters the battlefield, search your library for an equipment card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. I love a good 2 CMC tutor to hand. Now, yes, this is like a less useful Open the Armory. Okay, it's a more expensive Steel Shaper's Gift, but it is a redundancy that Boros needs, for sure. And Boros, again, is usually fed the enchantment / equipment tutors, particularly auras. So it's nice to see another equipment tutor, and there's a lot of good equipment out there now. So, and again, this only gets better the more colors you have. The equipment expands is what I'm saying. The amount of equipment you can find. For 1 generic, 1 red, 1 white, equip abilities cost 2 less to activate. I will state that most of the commanders you're going to leverage in a Voltron build are going to have some effect, like Brunor is going to have some effect to essentially make the equipment cost free, and you're sort of relying on that to get the ball rolling. But it is nice to have this cost reduction. I will state, though, that putting 5 mana into this beyond the initial investment of just having this find the equipment is quite a bit. But what sucks about all of these classes is that they stick around. So the Dockside is going to be so happy to see that enchantment on the battlefield. And for 3 generic, 1 red, 1 white, we are going deep. You have hit level 3. It was 10 mana later, and whenever a creature you control attacks, up to 1 target creature blocks if this combo, if able. For a rare, that is not a good effect. This is a very bad effect. I suggest you stop at level 1, maybe go to level 2. Don't waste 5 mana, on level 3. But yeah, that's the fighter class. All of these classes, I'm really grading them, critiquing them solely on that first level. That's really the make or break moment. Because if you play a class card and it's largely do nothing and you're really banking on getting to the 3rd level, bear in mind that this is a sorcery speed ability and that people are likely eyeing that class card and will know when to hit it. So it's very predictable. You kind of want to play for that first level, and everything else is just icing. Okay. We have Minx, Beloved Ranger. We're in Naya. For red, green, white. Legendary creature, human ranger. And he's a 3/3 body. When Minx, Beloved Ranger, enters the battlefield, create Boo. I wish Boo was green. I really wish Boo was green. A legendary 1/1 red hamster creature token with trample and haste. Of course Boo would have trample. Of course. It's such a good card. Just flavor-wise, I really love this card. I forget, it was like Baldur's Gate. I was playing Baldur's Gate ages ago on some PC we had at the house. I remember Minx was a character in that game, but yeah, I remember Minx and Boo. For X, until end of turn, target creature you control has base power and toughness of XX and becomes a giant in addition to its other types. Activate only at sorcery speed because we can't let you do that instantaneously. Why were we going to give this guy that's extremely difficult to put down in an average setting? Why are we going to let him have that combat trick at instant speed? We can't do that. What's fine, because for the most part, you're really looking to do this to sacrifice maybe a Protean Hulk. This is a sack outlet, right? I mentioned Protean Hulk, but any sort of utility that needs to die, like you can have an Academy Rector out, any Arena Rector, any creature that you want to use as sack fodder, Minx is a sack outlet. And that's kind of cool. And it's also nice because you have Boo. Boo can be a body that you use to transition into the creature. Now, not like you would transmogrify Boo into the Protean Hulk, because then where would your other creatures be? But in an ideal setting, you would be able to use Minx as a sack outlet to develop a combo. It's very slow. It's only notable because I know people are trying to build for this. I think maybe they're new to Naya, but it can be very difficult. It's very difficult to win in these colors. You know, white, difficult to win with normally. Red, difficult. Green only adds so much to the equation because green cares about things that those two colors really don't care about. You know, creature strengths, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, it's a sack outlet on a stick. Is that reason enough to use it? Usually I prefer my commanders have some form of value tacked onto them. But if you guys want to talk more about Minx, you can. We can. Because the last spell I want to mention in multicolored range is Sorcery Class. This really makes me want to do Izzet Storm. This is a really cool card. This one I actually like. For 1 red, 1 blue, 1 red. When Sorcery Class enters the battlefield, draw 2, then discard 2. That's fine. That's okay. For 1 blue, 1 red, creatures you control have tap, add 1 blue or 1 red. Spend this mana only to cast an instant or sorcery spell or to gain a class level. That's cool. So it helps you pay for itself, but it also makes all your little creatures value, which is awesome. So like that Spellseeker isn't just sitting there being a Spellseeker. That Snapcaster Mage isn't just sitting there being a Snapcaster Mage. This is actually giving you value off of your previously played ETBers. There's an ambulance running by me. I'm sorry if you can hear that. But yeah, it's actually really good. That second level is fantastic. And because of this effect by itself, like Ramp is good. Ramp is really good. Do I like this more in Smothering Tithe? Totally like this more in Smothering Tithe than a dedicated list. For 3 generic, 1 blue, 1 red, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, that spell deals damage to each opponent equal to the number of instant and sorcery spells you've cast this turn. That is awesome. This is such a cool Storm card. I love this effect. I really love this card. I really wish I played blue because it's a fantastic class. Easily my favorite, I'll say. Again, it's one you need to play for, but it's just good. Like, it's not card, it's card quality, right? You're not going up as you're casting this. But you draw 2, discard 2. That's fine. You can filter. Fills an Underworld Breach. You're likely using Breach in Izzet. But that second level is amazing. Really, really good. It encourages you to play a certain way. I like that. I think Kaikar could probably benefit from that too, right? Is Kaikar, he's like Jess guy? I don't know what he is. But Kaikar would love this. I mean, just being able to make the 1/1 spirit tokens. Like, not only can you tap them for the mana, right? It's not non-token creatures you control. So not only can your spirits tap for additional mana, you can sacrifice them after the fact. It's like, it's just so cool. I would use this in Kaikar and any other Izzet general you can think of. All right, that's it for multicolored from me, but I need to hear from you. I need to hear from you. Okay. Minx can lead a general Marath shell making infinite colorless. Yeah, that would be cool, actually. 2024 Pyre of Heroes hamster combo. Yeah. Ooh, Pyre of Heroes, that hamster. Wait, is there a relevant hamster in the game? Let me know what that 1-drop hamster is. Okay. Minx figured a Naya combo with Samut as commander and Godo fetching sword and Hearth of Home. That's really dope, actually. I really like Samut, by the way. She's very slept on. Her haste enabling is fantastic. Sorcery Class might fit in my casual Vile Smasher Sakashima deck. That'd be cool. Chandra's Ignition Ken. I mean, if I can get spicy, I can use Greater Good, an infinitely large Boo, and draw my deck. Well, make sure it's not infinitely large, right? You don't want to dry yourself out. But I get what you're saying. And try to assemble a win that way, too. You could, if you had infinite mana, right? Then you're not really concerned with, well, you're using it as a buff. That's kind of cool. It's like it could be like a Savala Shell or something. And you're in Naya, so you have all the great creature tutors. So that could be cool. And then white has all the enchantment tutors you need necessary to get Greater Good. Or any sort of draw utilities. And if it's a shell for like Savala Heart of the Wilds, it's a very weird build here. but you can utilize big creatures for big mana, and then use, you know, sacrifice like Life's Legacy, heroic, not Momentous Downfall, all that stuff to draw cards, right? So that's kind of cool. And obviously, if you had excess mana, you can just recast Minx, get Boo back, so on and so forth. I'm sure there's some cool Storm trick here. If Sorcerer stays cheap, it's going to be budget Kaikar deck, $50 max. Oh, I think Sorcerer, I think this one will stay cheap. I do think that this will stay cheap. I don't think people are going to value this highly. I don't know how they will in other formats, though. And you know, Commander doesn't really drive the price of any of these cards. Not typically. Commander doesn't really drive the price of cards. Maybe like the Mana Crypts of the world. Soul Rings. And Soul Rings always good. But I can't really say that Commander's distinctly affected the card prices. There's probably a bunch of blue cards that I just don't care about that are expensive because of Commander, though. All right. Is there an Artificer class card? I don't think so. And if there was, I'd imagine it might be multicolored. Grenchen is a mana sink in Simic that just happens to fall short compared to Thrasios and Kinnan. Oh, yes. Yes. She also has a little mouse friend, but you don't get to create it. Now, the only tricky... It's like... They fucked up so horribly with... They messed up so horribly with 2016 Commander. And I realize now that at the end of this video, because this is technically taking the place of our Sunday video, I will be reading the thoughts of one of our brew crew or masters on the monthly topic. But the monthly topic was, what set do you feel, what product do you feel had the biggest impact on the Commander format? And 2016 Commander, like when they released Thrasios, like it's hard to come up with a card that doesn't give you equal value without being broken, because Thrasios is pretty ridiculous as an outlet. It being 4 generic is kind of ridiculous. But yeah, she's fine. I think that she can pull weight. I don't know if she necessarily will. But yeah, she exists. She exists in the game. I'm just pulling up the one of the responses I wanted to read for you guys, because this topic is really interesting to me. I loved hearing everyone's thoughts on these sets, but I'll be reading for Harry Seward today. I have that up over here. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what set you feel had the biggest impact. Me personally, I feel like the introduction of Commander in 2016 really did not mess things up, but change the state of the game. I really do think that that's where Commander products in general have always been healthy for the format, like Hua Yan was saying recently with our previous acknowledgement, right, so far as the monthly topic is concerned. But Commander-based products have had a huge impact on the game, clearly, because they're designed for Commander players in mind. But 2016, like with partners, really changed the landscape. I really do think that's where a lot of early cEDH decks blossomed from, you know. But Gretchen, she's fine. It's the difference being in why she's nice is I think Thrasios puts the land into play tapped. You never really care because like there's a Seedborn Muse there, so it's fine. But yeah, I think if the land got put into play tapped, okay, cool. It's essentially this. It's like the same effect almost. We got one with the Quandrix girl recently too, right? But they just don't compare to Thrasios, because I can play Thrasios and have Crom and have Timna, or just any pairing I want now. Name anything from Commander Legends. It's really sad that this guy from Commander set Commander 2016 has just like mucked it up for every other legendary to follow. And I guess the excuse for this halfling druid is that she's at uncommon, but it just doesn't compete. I'm sorry, Gretchen. Rogue Class and Orcus. They spent so many sets trying to figure out the price for that ability. Any cheap breaks standard quick. Camper David says, yeah, I agree with that. And I think 4 is fine for this effect. It scales extremely well, though, particularly with the fact that you get to put a land into play untapped. You can make the mana back, right? It's quite good. I can see that being very good in a outside of Commander. You obviously want something else. They did make relatively fair 2 generic blue green rather than 4 colorless. Yeah. Speaking of partners, not totally cEDH. Chadrick's Silvercool deck won a cEDH game thanks to Timna. Thanks to Timna? Oh, just the card value? I bet. I really do. I'd maybe try to brew Gretchen as a budget Simic commander if Kinnan didn't exist. So true. Kinnan is another potent one. I kind of like that take on the Simic route instead. Like, just super power your mana gain. Because the thing is, no one is really going to compete with Thrasios. And even if the ability on that creature does compete with Thrasios, the fact that Thrasios is a partner just makes him better inherently. It's really sad to say, but that just makes him better. But yeah, I do like Kinnan quite a bit. I like him as the alternative Simic commander. But I'm going to move on from here unless there's another multicolored card you guys would like to see. And the next card we're going to talk about is an artifact. The only artifact I want to defer to. Eye of Vecna. For 2 generic, legendary artifact. It's a legendary artifact as part of a trio. And I think you can bring Vecna to life. It's some cool D&D thing, I'm sure. But the card itself is okay. It's actually an Oswald. So when Eye of Vecna enters the battlefield, you draw a card and you lose 2 life. So is this good? Nah. If you're outside of black, like you have Phyrexian Arena, Dark Tutelage, Dark Confidant, clearly. There are other utilities in black that are comparable. Because at the beginning of your upkeep, you may pay 2 if you do draw a card and lose 2 life. So this is nice in the non-black list if you want reoccurring draw. And sadly, in mono-white, this is really playable. This is really playable. I hate that, but it's playable. And you can play this. What's nice about Eye of Vecna in the Oswald build we played with is that it scales well with the deck. Like if you're birthing pod, if you're doing the pod approach to life, 2 going into 3 is amazing because your Rings of Brightheart is in 3. All of your combo cards are in 3. So Eye of Vecna and Oswald's great. Eye of Vecna in any list sans black is going to be good for reoccurring draw. Obviously, most other colors have other value engines. I think even green might be able to benefit from this because so far as reoccurring card quality is concerned, it's really just Sylvan Library. You have Mary's Guile for card quality, but it's not putting cards in your hand. It's just simply letting you scry 3. This is okay. Obviously, you can't kick the cards to the bottom of your library. It's not necessarily scry. Don't listen to me. Eye of Vecna's fine. It's the only artifact to talk about. And the thing is, while yes, if you have some sort of recursion deck, you could use something like Dungeon Map or 50 Feet of Rope to win the game. Like if you're, let's say Teshar. If I had Dungeon Map and Teshar, I can pay 3 generic for this absurd mana rock. But I can pay 3, tap it, venture into the dungeon, activate only at sorcery speed. Well, I have infinite mana, sack outlets, way to recur artifacts. I can use Dungeon Map and any dungeon as an outlet now. I could take out all of my other outlets and use this. And same thing with the 50 Feet of Rope, right? It's fine. But again, that's only for a very specific deck, and I wouldn't say that these 2 cards are good. If you're asking for Teshar, and I'm sure I'll likely get questions, I would use 50 Feet of Rope as opposed to the other one, despite the other one technically being better as a form of ramp, because who gives a shit about walls, and the thing about none of these other things matter. Tie Up is fine. It might be the only fine ability outside of Venture, but the 1 mana is what makes this good. The 1 cost in the top right is what makes this good. But yeah, interested in your thoughts on artifacts. Are there any colorless spells I missed that you love? Isn't there an artifact pod, or was that in MH2? There's Pyre of Heroes. Gunblade Knight. Do you mean Pyre of Heroes? So this is an artifact-based pod, and it was from Kaldheim, if I'm not mistaken. But you pay 2, sacrifice a creature, search your library for a creature card that shares a creature type with the sacrificed creature and has mana value equal to 1 plus that creature's mana value. So it's the same thing as you would get from a Birthing Pod or Oswald in this circumstance. And I run this in Oswald because you can convert a 3 CMC human into Auriok Salvagers starter combo. Not that this is relevant to our video today, but it's just nice to know that you can have that on a stick. Yeah, there is a creature pod that's colorless. I only hate it in mono white. For favor of Clash. Since Vecna is juxtaposed to most white effects. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird that Eye of Vecna didn't have a color attached to this. And arguably, it would be super playable in Blacklist. If the at beginning upkeep trigger was pay 1 black, this would be super good in a Blacklist. I would run this for sure. Just because it's easier to put down than Phyrexian Arena and your Dark Tutelage, right? You don't need any color to do it. You can just say Mana Crypt, Eye of Vecna, and then you have like an engine online. It also replaces itself. But being colorless, it's nice to have options in other colors. We always see a new 2CMC draw effect, and they always are, various degrees of usable. Like Maze Mind Tome was the last one to come to mind, and I'm sure there's been things in between Maze Mind Tome and this, but this is okay. This is just okay. Leather armor, maybe. Leather armor? Oh, yeah, this one's kind of cool. Leather armor is 1 generic equipment artifact. Equipped creature gets +1, excuse me, and has ward 1. No one's going to target this creature from here on out unless it's super valuable. Ward, fairly obvious on the creature. You get to counter it unless they pay 1. It's just attacks on targeting. Equip 0. You can only activate this once each turn. So that limitation is fine because I don't foresee us really moving this around that much, but it's a very cheap way to give. Let's just put it this way. If you have if you're in a meta where there's a lot of red decks and they use their whip flares and pyroclasms and stuff like that, if there's a lot of board wipes that do 2 damage and your commander is at 2 defense, I do think leather armor is fine for not only a little bit of protection with the ward, but the buff to defense, like making your creature 2/3 as opposed to its generic 2/2 is very good. I think this wouldn't be as good if it didn't have ward, and even still the ward value of 1 is not that high, but just fine enough. I think it's fine enough. There's going to be a dedicated Voltron list that will enjoy this, particularly the ones like Akiri or Wylith, whatever his name is, that benefit off of being equipped and can draw off of being equipped. This is a good card because it's free to equip. All right. No birthing pod, but you sack artifacts. I don't know then. Usually a set makes me look at my Gerard list like you do a Teshar, with Teshar, but this set I saw everything and I was like, none of this excites me. Maybe Oswald in place of Goblin Engineer. I would run Oswald in Gerard. Don't mistake the power of having a pod in your list, particularly one that's 1 generic, 1 white, and then 1 white to tap. That's a very powerful effect. So long as you understand the synergies between the play lines of the pod, like what can 0 convert into, what are my 1 drops, what can 1 convert into. If you're really playing for it, you will be ahead of the game. But in a dedicated list, it's pretty menacing. You can kind of run Eye of Vecna and Brago. It's not terrible. Yeah, you can. I have seen people playing Essior, Vile Smasher, maybe there, for sure. Treasure Vault and Core Vault or Godo. Treasure Vault is not a artifact, but it sounds like we're ready to move on. So I'm going to go to lands with you guys. And there's only one land card I want to talk about. And it happens to be Treasure Vault. So, Treasure Vault, artifact, land. So, let's just stop there. That's actually useful. I was running this briefly in Oswald, and you can run this in any list that cares about artifacts because it's always nice to have artifacts accessible. Not necessarily colorless lands, but being able to swap out an artifact with something like a Goblin Welder, being able to convert artifacts into other things, that's always useful. So knowing that you have an artifact in your land base, that's also a good outlet for infinite mana and or a good way to color fix if you need it is nice. Because you can tap this for colorless, or you can pay XX, tap it, sacrifice Treasure Vault, and guess what? Oh, to the victor goes the spoils. You get all the treasures. This is okay at face value. If I were to put 10 mana in here and I get 5 treasures, that's okay. That's okay, right? Don't do this into an Allrod. Okay, that's going to hurt. But basically, with this card, you're able to convert infinite generic mana into any color, right? Now, there are a few stacks pieces that I run that would hinder this. Like, I run Root Maze, I run Null Rod, I run Orb of Dreams. I run a bunch of stuff to stop artifacts, particularly treasures, because they're so prevalent. Dockside Extortion is so prevalent. The Treasure Vault is fine, but I don't think it's going to be for every list. I think you may be onto something with Godo, maybe. I'm not really sure how you would leverage it perfectly there. you do need excess mana to do the trick with Godo. You need a lot to put him down, put the helm down, and equip it. And there's, of course, a ton of ways to cheese that. But that's fine. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what list you would want to run Treasure Vault in. I think it's a good card in a land to remember. And I'm pretty sure that I'm going to buy at least a copy so that I have one on hand, because I know it's going to come up. I'll eventually want an outlet in my land base. And maybe it's even something that's valuable for a list containing green, and I can crop rotate this and convert, you know, because there are some decks where you need to filter and you're like, oh, damn, I guess I need to add Prismite, or I need to add some sort of color fixing card that I can convert generic into color with. Well, this is just a land that does that. So on the off chance that you have a way to find this land, it can be very potent for you. Or if it's just in your hand, well, then you have the outlet, right? Or at least a way to convert an infinite mana outlet. But yeah, are there any other lands that you want to look at? Any other lands that are tickling you pink? What's got you giddy? You can pay 0 to sack it for 0 treasures. And what's her name? Titania? Could you? Is that a good thing? I don't know. Didn't even notice it was an artifact land. Neat. Yeah, it's cool that way. There was actually another artifact land here too. Wait up. Or was it Modern Horizons that got it? I think I might be lying to you. I think Modern Horizons 2 also had a really interesting utility land that's artifact based. Or maybe it's from the set and it's in the commander. It's in specifically the commander sets. But yeah, it's cool that it's an artifact. It's just nice having that utility. Okay. Or convert infinite treasures into or convert it into infinite treasures and win with makeshift munitions. Does Neheb play this? I don't think so, Antonio. I don't think that Neheb is going to care about it. I know what you're thinking, though. Like to pocket your red mana, right? You would want to do that to pocket your red mana. That could be a thing. Best thing about this land is and the set is all the alt art lands that look like old school campaign modules. Yeah, and we've been talking about that in community polls. We've got some real mixed feelings on all of these. I know that a lot of folks like these monster manual art pieces. I like the art for Fiddlebender more here. I'm not necessarily sure I like this theme, although the thumbnail for this video was stylized as such. These are really cool in my book. They're clearly not for everyone, but I do agree, like the module lands are like, I'm obsessed with them. I'm absolutely obsessed. I just want to pull them up because it's I don't know, it's just so nostalgic and fun. Like I really like seeing these. It just makes me happy looking at these. And you know, maybe they're not as legible as say the standard version, but I mean that isn't the point, right? But yeah, I agree with you. It's probably my favorite thing about this set. It's a filter for Kinnan. Yeah, and Kinnan plays a lot of artifact tutors. Yeah, fact. Brisk. Good on you for Kinnan. That's not bad in Kinnan. I like it in Godo for Goblin Welder and Goblin Engineer as well, just for storing mana. Yeah, no, I agree. And you can swap it back in, right? So if you have a Goblin Welder, right, you can make treasures with it. Let's say you make 4 treasures, and then you want to get it back later. You can convert one of those treasures to the land. And they're not necessarily the best play, but an accessible play and something you can do, provided you'd like. Evolving Wild seems pretty broken. Grand Architect and Pillar Pala filter colorless into colored mana. Evolving Wild's module art has me excited. Yeah, these all do. Like Hive of the Eye Tyrant. Come on, just how does this not make you smile? Like this shit just makes me so happy to look at. I don't know why. Is it because they match the colors of Skittles? Is it because the art styling and the cheesy like box set art? I don't know. I like this like 16:9 aspect ratio on the art. I like everything about these. We could briefly end this video by just talking about these if you want. The alt arts from the set, they're limited on the varied art or the, I guess, different art. It's really just different borders and effects. Like this is obviously different art than the standard art. The extensions look good in the set. These are really the star of the show for me. I think they did a knockout job with these. And these are a little bit more subjective. I didn't like the sketch art from Modern Horizons 2, but I like this art. But the set as a whole, it's okay for Commander players. Again, this wasn't necessarily a Commander-based product, But it's cool to see that we get to play with adventures if we want to, rather dungeons, and we can venture into dungeons, provided we like. If you're playing Ace, show me the deck. Again, show me the money. I need to see Ace win. I'm going to be working on a finalized Oswald for anyone that wants to see it on Brew Wars. Please stay tuned for that. But as I promised off the bat here, guys, or rather in the middle there, I totally forgot that this was our Sunday episode. It's weird doing this in the middle of the week. But guys, as I do with all of these videos, I like to thank our Patreon crew. Thank you so much for making all of this possible. And for you guys tuning in every week, watching these live streams, you are the best. To the team that always comes in supporting with Super Chats, I appreciate you guys a whole lot. You're the best. But to end this, I'd like to end with Harry Seward's thoughts on the monthly topic. I believe it's probably the Modern Masters Horizon sets. Modern is a 2-mana format. Faster Modern gets, the faster Commander gets. The fact that they're printing straight to Modern cards means the format will get much more lean. I think the explosion of competitive Commander is mostly due to fetch lands being printed in standard sets with Cons block. I think making fetch lands affordable lessens some of the barrier to entry. A great mana base is the difference between being optimized and not being optimized. And I can definitely see that. I totally agree. Like, an efficient land base is so essential to getting by in a game of cEDH. It's truly the most important thing, and honestly the thing we recommend most when you get into cEDH. Just have the right land base so that if you're playing a multicolored deck, you're not hampered by tapped lands or not being able to make effective plays because you don't have the right land base. And as I do with all of these videos, I try to encourage this more and more and more. Please proxy it up if you're trying to jump into cEDH and you find it inaccessible. It is inaccessible. The reason you find it inaccessible is because it is inaccessible, sadly. But I encourage you to just talk with your play group. You want to play with the guys' Cradle, proxy it up, have fun. It's a casual game. Just enjoy yourselves. Because I had a great time discussing this set with you. I hope you enjoyed this live stream set review. Again, I look forward to many more of these in the future. But again, my name is Patrick Marlett, and happy brewing, babies.